Labour markets show first signs of cooling, but a soft landing is still seen on the horizon. Welcome to Market Insights. I'm Ludovica Brignola. US job growth slowed slightly in June and the unemployment rate ticked up to 4.1%. Factoring in the moderation in prices that we saw in May, the report confirmed that the disinflationary trend is back on track after inflation surged in the first quarter. So how should equity investors position themselves? Well, to answer all that, I am joined by Mario Unali. He is portfolio manager at Kairos Partners. Thank you for being with us today. So, Mario, non-farm payrolls came out slightly stronger than expected, but again, last month's NFPs were revised down to 218,000. Now, unemployment ticked up again at 4.1%, starting to show some cracks in the labour market, I wonder, at this point?
Look, I think the data is good enough for the market to reinforce the soft landing narrative. At the same time, it's probably weak enough for the Fed to keep all of their options open, including the September meeting, where they will be considering a cut in interest rates. I think, the Fed has been trying to engineer a slowdown in the economy for the best part of the last 2 years. So we shouldn't be too worried about what we are seeing on the consumer side, on the labor market, especially when things are under control. So this is a very orderly movement in the cooling down of the economy. Now, the question mark is, where do we go from here? Is this the beginning of a deeper movement in the economy, or is this actually the soft landing that the market loves so much? And that remains to be seen in the next few months.
Moving now to inflation. Next Thursday, we'll get the CPI June print. And we've also seen Powell remarks earlier this week. And I wonder, Mario, what do we have to see at this point, in your view, for the Fed to be satisfied that sufficient progress has been made on the inflation front?
Sure. We have another data in July for CPI. We will have another data in August. So the Fed will be more than ever data dependent. And we will see a cooling of inflation. And more than everything, we will have to see a cooling of inflation expectations going forward. That's what the Fed really wants to see. The base case is for inflation to remain, higher than their target. So if we see something above, 2% for an extended period of time, that, probably would prompt the Fed to be extremely careful in cutting interest rates. We could, see something similar to what the ECB has done recently. So one cut and then see what happens.
Now let's move to equity markets. It really seems that we're still in a good news is bad news sort of mode now. However, some data like the latest ISM have been pointing to a potentially significant slowdown. At what point do you think is bad news going to be seen as bad news for real when it comes to equity markets?
Mm-hmm. Look, I think the market is stretched compared to maybe 6, 7, 8 months ago. So there will be some degree of profit taking, especially on the more speculative and expensive part of the market valuation wise. On the other hand, if I look medium term, it's still very difficult to see a recession in the US when unemployment is hovering around 4.1%. Today, we got another data around 4.05%. So the economy is still in a healthy position, is in a good state. And so I think the outlook should still be constructive, probably not as much as 6 or 9 months ago, but it still makes sense to be invested at this point, especially in the US.
And given the recent record highs that we've seen for the S&P 500 and for the NASDAQ, can the AI-powered rally really be sustained if we look at the second half of the year?
So when it comes to AI, I think the ramifications are really wide across sectors and across countries. So we shouldn't just look at tech companies, but we should look, for example, at utilities. We should look at commodities, things like copper that are critical for, data centers and the rebuilding of electrical grids. So there are so many second derivatives that probably still aren't pricing, the full potential of these new technological developments. So I don't think the the theme has already, expressed all the potential for profits across sectors. Certainly, it probably makes sense to risk manage, as I was saying at this point, specifically on the tech sector in the US. Some stocks obviously are showing signs of frothiness.
Speaking about portfolio construction, how should investors position themselves now across asset classes?
Sure. I mean, outside monetary policy and AI, I think it makes sense to widen the scope of asset allocation compared to the traditional 60-40 balance portfolio that we are normally offering clients. These days, you have many more options. Like, for example, gold is back as a viable allocation, as a viable alternative when it comes to diversifying portfolios out of equity and fixed income that are very correlated these days. Liquid alternative is also another asset class that, in my opinion, is very interesting for investors. The one thing to avoid is probably illiquid products, things that today don't really make sense because there is not enough clarity on the economic cycle. I mean, are we at the beginning of an expansion cycle? Are we nearing the end of the cycle? So what you want to be is on the liquid side of any asset allocation and any asset class.
Great. Thank you very much for being with us today, Mario Unali, Portfolio Manager at Kairos Partners. And that is your market insight. You can watch more videos on Reuters.com.